All right, let's go to question number 7, and we have all 20 questions for you guys today. All 20 are loaded. This is from Pamela Schuett, who says, "Hi, Mike. I read recently that the idea that God the Son is eternally submissive to God the Father is heresy. It's Arianism. Is that true? Was Jesus only temporarily submissive to God while on earth?" Okay, so I don't personally hold to that. It's called eternal subordination. But the idea is that Jesus is submissive at all times to the Father eternally, right? This has always been the case. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying I'm not convinced of it. Okay. And I do think that Scripture seems to indicate that submission is focused on, in Hebrews it says that Jesus learned submission. He learned obedience, that this is, when he comes onto earth, in human form, he chooses not to utilize so much of his authority and power that he has as God, and he walks as a servant, and he walks in perfect obedience. Do you translate that into an eternal subordination of the Son? I mean, it's possible, right? But I don't think it's the case. I'm not convinced it's the case. But the issue is it heresy? Now, I haven't finished my research on this. This actually weighs into the Women in Ministry series a lot, because one of the things that the say like Amy Bird in particular, she's one egalitarian scholar. Pretty sure she's a scholar who really hammers the nail and this claim that complementarians are, and this is how it sounds from her, that they're so committed to their wrong thinking about complementarian stuff that women's submission is a thing, at least in some contexts, not all contexts, that they're willing to throw the doctrine of the Trinity under the bus and to have heresy enter their beliefs about the Trinity in order to support it. Because people will say, hey, if the Son can submit to the Father, then a wife can submit to her husband. If the Son's God, this doesn't devalue him, then the wife submitting to her husband doesn't devalue her. That's the analogy that's used. Now, I think that analogy can be used with the Son and the Father in a relationship while Jesus is on earth, but they'll push it back and say it's used for eternal subordination. I think the response to this is that they have confused Arianism, which is saying that Jesus is actually a lesser being. And I haven't finished my research on this, so I may amend this statement later if I include it in my series on women in ministry. But the basic idea is Arianism is actually saying Jesus is like a created being. Not just that he behaves in an act of submission, but he's actually a created being that's, created by the Father. So subordination, yielding and submitting, is not the same thing as being a secondary creation. These are very different claims, and it seems as though it's very influential to say, oh, they're creating heresy in the doctrine of the Trinity. I don't think eternal subordination is actually that kind of Arian heresy. I think this is more of an inflammatory talking point from one side, even if I don't agree with it. Now, I'll do more hopefully on that as time goes by in this series. I think I might try to include it in one of the videos. So